good? I think we're going. How does the audio sound? Bring it a little closer. Doopy doopy doo. Nope. Alright. Sound. I'll turn it up all the way. How we doing? How we doing, eh? We're about to get a little spooky tonight. Let me see. How we doing, eh? We're about to get a little spooky tonight. Still a bit quiet. How's that doing? How's that? Still a bit quiet. How's that doing? How's that? I'm just checking the sound right now. That's why I keep going back and forth. I'm just checking the sound right now. Alright, I think that'll do. Don't want to blow people's ears out. Let me see here. I can go away. Let's see. How are we going to do this? Actually, let me go back to here. Where's the text chat? Source. Oh, that sucks. I can't see the chat on here, so usually in OBS you'd be able to see like your chat log on the side. Oh well. Let me see if I can find it here. Sorry, wait, I forgot what I was doing. Let me go to my other account just to make it a bit. Yeah, there we go. That's me. You can see me live right now. Where are you at? Where are you at? I know I have you saved somewhere. Right now, I'm just getting everything all set up just to, like, make sure I'm prepared before I share all this information. What the word? Now, I did not really come prepared with certain videos I wanted to show off, but I mean, I know there are a few I would like to watch with people because I'm like, I find them to be entertaining. And also, some people just don't really know who Mr. Nightmare is, all things considered. Like, I feel like with Mr. Nightmare, he's kind of a. I mean, he's still going strong, don't get me wrong, but nobody really talks about him, I feel like, anymore. So, for the YouTube one, we'll get rid of that. And then I'll just get rid of that. Oh wait. Nope. Bring that back. Main monitor. That should be good. Now all I gotta do. I don't know why I'm on this one. I haven't seen this one. We'll try what's What's the one? I guess we'll start with this one because I actually just watched this one this morning just to see how this was looking. Um, um, no. Okay, so I'm assuming that's not needed. I kind of wish, um, I could change my thumbnail from here because I know people are probably gonna see my thumbnail, but like not really see what it is or what I'm doing. So I might just have to put in one later. So let me just real quick. Here, I'll get a good picture of me in OBS. We're good there. Or else let me okay. That's the Instagram. Just posted about this on Instagram. Then there was something else I had to do. Oh. Huh. I guess I did get copyright in my last stream. That sucks. Not really sure what for, but I'll find out, I guess. Hmm. I'm just kind of spreading this around a little bit just to see if we can get any views in this time, because last time I did a stream we didn't really have anybody, so just okay. Had to get that caffeinated water in. Okay. Let's see that. I guess I should go through the ones like I would like to show off and talk about. like that. Some of these are a bit long, so I'm just gonna stick to the ones I know by heart. Jesus, you're loud. Alright, Splash Mountain. Shush, shush. Oh, that's weird. This one's audio only. Oh, that sucks. Alright. I guess that'll do. There's this one I know. 2 hours of Mr. Nightmare deleted videos. I've never seen that one before. The Mr. Nightmare Iceberg. Dang, I need to check those out. If I guess that's kind of it. If I really wanted to go any further, then I would be getting into the rather disturbing stuff on Mr. Nightmare's old content, and we don't really want to go there. So this is what I have here. Oh yeah, the phone calls. Alright. And the only real reason I wanted to do this was because I couldn't come up with anything in time for a Halloween special, and I was all preoccupied with getting the K-pop video out. So for now, it just has like a little fun side quest of mine. I think that's how I'm going to be treating most live streams anyway. Like, I plan on making this into a full video because I find this topic pretty fascinating. But yeah, for right now, this is just kind of what we're going to be doing instead of committing to a whole video right now. So excuse me. Let's see. I'm gonna keep this over here in case any chatters pop up, if any. So I guess I should explain what we're doing. So we're basically going to be looking at a bunch of old deleted videos from this guy called Mr. Nightmare. And if you recognize that name, that's either because you're also familiar with some of his old content that was later deleted down the line for reasons I'm not really too sure of. I haven't looked too deep into it, but I find them to be fascinating because I mean, we really don't know where these stories came from. And I assume he got most of these from either Reddit or some kind of chain mail, if you will, from forums like 4chan back in the day. Or I don't know. I really don't know where he could have found most of these stories from, but that's where I aim to answer those questions, both in this, hopefully in this live stream, but then also like later research down the line when I'm like doing doing research on his old channel videos. So, um, again, I didn't really come fully prepared because I just decided last minute, like, why not? And the only reason I find these stories to be fascinating is because. Okay, that kind of freaked me out. I got a pop up over here showing, like, what I was doing. I'll just move over here real quick. Or I'll move to a new tab. The only reason I find these fascinating is because I just really enjoy how somewhat pure these videos are, because from what I understand, these are all just videos made by him in his like room or apartment, and he used a really cheap microphone, so a lot of the audio is all like crackly and like sound like he's speaking behind, like, sounds like he's like speaking in the wind, kind of like that wind interference that you get in some audio. It sounds like it's coming from his microphone and audio, which is kind of fascinating if I'm being honest, because I can 100% see the struggle of just a guy trying to have fun on YouTube by telling scary stories. So I guess we should just get into it and see what we end up finding in these lost pieces of media. And I will say though, it freaked me out when I realized like half of his channel was gone. Like half of his content one day just went missing and I didn't know where they went. Which kind of freaked me out cuz I was a big fan of Mr. Nightmare for years. And then when he deleted half of his channel and started doing more mainstream like real life people's stories, or or just as they claim, I guess, as they claim to be real anyway. Uh but yeah, so anyway, if I keep going on, I'm just going to be like spouting the same thing over and over again. So I'm keeping it a little bit darker on this side this time, just to add to the spooky vibes, I guess, to kind of set the vibe check, if you will. Um, yeah. So, oh, my cat just walked in. I don't know if he's gonna come say hi. He's kind of lazy. He might just sit on my bed. But okay. Anyway, all right. Let's just get into this. Fuck, that's loud.
We are sorry. The number you have dialed has been.
Oh shit, the video audio isn't clear. Hold on. Forgot to unmute that. Uh, and also I should probably check to see if the video audio is even gonna come through. Forgot to unmute that. And also I should probably
We
check
are
to see
sorry.
if the video audio is even gonna come through. Um, might need it a bit louder. Is it even coming through that one, or is it just? Let me make sure. No, not Hollow Knight. Weird. There we go. Let's try that.
The number you have dialed has been.
Number 6.
All right. No, not Hollow Knight. Oh shit. There we go. Alright. I guess I could use a bit more. Oh shit.
We are sorry. The number you have dialed has been...
Let's see how that is. I'm sorry there's a lot of experimentation at the beginning. I just want to make sure everything's running smoothly. Yeah, that'll work.
We are sorry. The number you have dialed has been...
That'll work. Yep, I was right. My cat is just on my bed. Alright, let's do this.
Number 6.
In 2008, 19-year-old college student Brendan Swanson was driving home after a night out when he crashed into a ditch on a gravel road in the middle of nowhere in Minnesota. He knew as well as us that this was a classic horror movie setup, so he called his parents and asked for a ride. Swanson's parents had trouble finding him. When they couldn't find his car at the location he provided, they got back on the phone for over 45 minutes, trying to find him as he described his location. Swanson claimed he could see lights from a nearby town and was heading in that direction. But things took a turn for the creepy when he suddenly yelled, "Oh shit." Before his father could even scold his son for using such filthy language, the call
Such
cut
filthy
off.
language.
And that's the last anyone ever heard from Swanson. Hundreds of volunteers, 34 dogs, and 120 days later, only his car was found. So what happened to him?
Already, that sounds like the plot to the first episode of Stranger Things.
Before his father could even scold his son for using such filthy language, the call
Such
cut
filthy
off.
language.
And that's
Why does that already sound like the plot to the first episode of Stranger Things? Will Byers just went missing. We gotta go... what was his name? Brandon? Brandon went to the Upside Down. We gotta go find him. We gotta go to the Upside Down to go find him. Stranger Things. Shit.
before
Nope.
his father could even scold his
Number 5.
In the 1970s, Bashir Kauchaki opened up a successful restaurant in
Kalchaki.
Washington, D.C. He was living the American dream, but in 1983, he became the target of an insane, non-stop stream of threatening phone calls that came several times a day, every day. In most harassment campaigns, the trolls get bored and move on to something else eventually, but Kauchaki would put up with these calls for nearly a decade. The caller earned the nickname Lafont, which we believe is Swedish for the child, because the caller eventually decided that he wasn't being creepy enough and began to mimic a little girl.
Who's
Anyone
that?
s-
Wait, who's that? I recognize her. I'm gonna do a... If this is not real, I swear to God. But I swear, I recognize that she's an actress in something. I think. We're about to prove if I'm wrong or not. Let me go to let's see. Did I do it? Come on. There you go. Who is that? Actress Dakota Fanning in her role as Emily Calloway in the 2005 psychological thriller The Hide and Seek. Really? Okay. So I wasn't going crazy. Excuse me. Okay. He just had a picture of Dakota Fanning.
associated with Kauchaki was a target, from his pregnant spouse to his restaurant employees. And the abuse got physical when the Star of David was scratched all over Kauchaki's Mercedes. When Kauchaki traveled to Philadelphia to visit his sister, the calls kept coming even there. Things got so bad he suffered a mental breakdown and committed himself to a psychiatric ward, but the calls continued to his restaurant. The FBI eventually put a trace on the phone to confirm that Lafont wasn't an insane delusion, but it was even worse than that. The calls were coming from different payphones at such a frequency that it would have been impossible for only one person to have been involved. Lafont was a plot orchestrated by multiple people for the express purpose of driving Kauchaki insane. So the obvious question is, why?
And how did they get your number, homie? Also, real quick, I'm gonna go use the bathroom. So, so I don't crap myself listening to these scary stories. I'll be right back. My cats will keep you company. Sorry that took a minute. Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't mean for that to take so long. I forgot I had my glasses on when I went upstairs, so everything looked really dark. So, alright, let's continue this.
Number 4.
In 1970, 25-year-old Donna Lass worked as a nurse at the first aid station of a casino in South Lake Tahoe, California. One day, Lass's boss and landlord both received calls from an unidentified man who claimed she was dealing with an illness in the family and would be out of town for a while. Lass's boss became suspicious and contacted Lass's mother, who confirmed that the story was bull. Lass's car was found parked outside her apartment, but there was no trace of her anywhere. The last sign of her was an entry she'd made in her logbook near the end of her final shift. The entry looked unfinished, as if someone had interrupted her. No one could figure out Lass's whereabouts or the identity of the caller, until the San Francisco Chronicle received a mysterious postcard 6 months later. It was addressed to reporter Paul Avery. The postcard was the latest in a long line of cryptic messages from the Zodiac Killer, one of the most infamous unidentified killers of all time. The killer made no direct reference to Lass, but hinted that he had murdered and buried his 12th victim in Lake Tahoe. Since Lass's body hadn't been found, it wasn't hard for investigators to make a connection. The postcard provided a lot of clues about Lass's possible location, but a search of the area turned up nothing. To further complicate matters, Zodiac was known for screwing with the authorities. He claimed to have killed dozens of people, but officially he has only 5 murders on his resume. Furthermore, Lass doesn't fit Zodiac's profile, since he wasn't known for hiding bodies. But that leaves a huge mystery about a vanished nurse and an unidentified man who tried to hide her disappearance. It's still not known for sure what happened to Donna Lass.
Number 3.
Yeah, that sucks. But here's the thing though, most of these, for videos like this, it's very possible these are real stories he's told, especially the one by the end, but at the same time, this was during that weird era of the internet where you really couldn't tell what was real and what was fake. So it was harder to really like decipher whether or not, at least if you were my age back then. Because at that time, when I was watching this guy, I was probably around, let's see, like 10, 11. I was young, okay? I was on the internet way before I probably should have. And let's say I've experienced and watched some things that I probably shouldn't have seen at that age, including this man. So, and it's crazy too. I actually remember my first YouTube video I've ever watched, and it definitely showed its age. But anyway.
In 1931, there lived a man named William Wallace.
Bro, those eyes. What are those eyes? They're piercing, bro. What?
He worked as a London insurance agent, and he had an obsession for chess. One night, Wallace showed up for a chess club meeting and found a telephone message waiting for him. The sender wanted to meet at 7:30 the following night so he could purchase a policy. Wallace hopped on a streetcar the next night and traveled across town. He discovered that the address provided didn't exist, so he headed back.
This man looks like a mad scientist. And also, that camera he's holding can explain how old this image is. With the flash on it. That's the giant ass flash on it. That's pretty cool. I want to get a camera like that one day. That sounds like it'd be fun.
Back home, probably convinced that he was the victim of a dumb prank. But when he got home, he found his wife's body. Julia Wallace had been beaten to death, and the mysterious caller was the obvious suspect. But after an investigation, police revealed that they determined that the caller was actually William Wallace himself. Authorities argued that Wallace had left the message to fabricate an alibi, killed his wife, hopped on a streetcar, drove around for an hour, then went home.
Why does this man right here look like the villain from Roger Rabbit? He's the one that fabricated this whole thing. He's the villain. He's the villain in this story. Also, I like his hat.
To supposedly discover his wife's body. This argument was invalid. It was completely impossible for Wallace to have committed the murder. The jury found Wallace guilty anyway, but luckily the Court of Criminal Appeal immediately overturned the conviction. The killer was never identified, but the prime suspect was a former employee of Wallace's insurance firm who allegedly asked his wife to provide him with a fake alibi and was seen wearing bloody gloves and hosing down his car on the night of the murder.
Ain't no way. What? Hold on. So, they had no evidence that he did the murder and still convicted him anyway, except later down the line they figure out it's most likely not his fault, but rather somebody else he's associated with. That can get pretty bad too, if I'm being honest. Like, even if you didn't do something illegal, but you're associated with someone that did do something illegal, that would suck, dude. Like, depending on how bad the crime was, and, like, circumstance, that shit would suck to be a part of. That would, oh my god, I hope nobody has to go through that.
Number 2.
In 1965, a young woman named Judith Iams disappeared from her hometown of Coral Gables, Florida. Everyone feared the worst when her abandoned car was found in Atlanta with blood in the backseat. Iams was pregnant and a recent divorcee. She allegedly made arrangements to get an illegal abortion from a Hungarian doctor named George.
Whoa. Okay, that's oh. I don't know about that one. Let's just skip forward a little bit.
A Nebraska radio host, claiming he had information about Iams' disappearance. Smith called the host back, but the host was completely confused. The host said he never made the call and he knew nothing at all about Iams. Smith soon received another anonymous call, claiming Iams was alive in Omaha. Smith knew nothing about the case, but he had recently traveled to Omaha to deliver a lecture at a police academy, and he started to wonder if this was a prank. Smith got a third anonymous call from someone who claimed to be an FBI informant who had recently spent time with Dr. Hadju in Hungary. They even provided an old phone number for Hadju that checked out. Smith was confused but did what any police officer would do with a baffling case. He took the story to Unsolved Mysteries.
What? What is Unsolved Mysteries? Is that a TV show? Huh? Hold on. Unsolved Mysteries is an American mystery documentary television series created by Don Cosgrove. Is this like 611? Is this still going? I'm gonna look at that later. But uses reenactments and interviews to retell the circumstances of, well, mysteries that are unsolved. I have never seen a description described like that. To retell the circumstances of, well, mysteries that are unsolved. Did an actual person write that? It's never usually with that kind of cadence in it. Circumstances of, well, mysteries. I don't know why that throws me off so bad. Covering crimes, tales of lost love, unexplained history, and paranormal events. Viewers are encouraged to provide information that might solve the mystery. Interesting. It was aired on NBC, CBS, Lifetime, and Paramount. I'll be. Interesting. I didn't know about it.
Days after the Iams episode was broadcast, Smith got an anonymous letter confirming what many people suspected all along. Iams died during an illegal abortion.
Nope. We're not going to get into that.
Number 1.
Sometime after 10 a.m. on a routine work
This is the one that got me crazy. So that there is no way this can be real. We couldn't, like, there was no way. I'll just let it play, but oh my god.
day, an Oxnard, California switchboard operator received a call from a whispering woman claiming the President of the United States was going to die in 10 minutes. That time passed without incident, but the woman, still on the phone, insisted that President JFK was
Now that I'm thinking about it, should I be playing this footage? Should I? I don't know if I should let this play. Just knowing what this footage, I don't know if I should. That might be bad. I'll play the audio, I guess, but check out these comments first. A lot of these channels that re-upload this video are people that are usually kind enough to have downloaded the video before it was taken down by their own means. Everybody has their own way of doing it, but seeing these comments on these like lost pieces of media is very fascinating because it just tells you I'm not alone in my search for trying to figure out the past. Now, whether or not re-uploading somebody else's content is like morally correct, I don't know, but the bigger question to me is there is such a huge collection of videos that was scrapped from being lost forever and is being re-uploaded to the internet by people who just want to preserve history, especially for such big channels like Nightmare. See, like in this one right here, most other people would not understand what this meant, but I do, because I was there to listen to it and get scared by it. Well, this one in particular didn't scare me, but I'll tell you which one did scare me. This one right here, the trailer, because that unlocked a fear in me that I wish I never got. Mainly the fear of stalking and people breaking into my house. I don't know why that's such a particular fear now, but it all started because of this. I don't know if I should play this though. I think so. I don't even know if YouTube could be able to tell just by the grainy footage, but I don't know if I should still, because that could indicate to the monetization system as to whether or not this is going to be gruesome or not. But I'll still play the audio.
was going to die at 10:30. She continued to babble away with cryptic statements like, the Supreme Court, there's going to be a fire in all the windows, and the government takes over everything, lock, stock, and barrel.
You did not have to tell us that for us to understand that. I mean, trust me, I think we got that.
The call finally disconnected at 10:25. Naturally, the call was written off as the ramblings of a crazy person. The president gets nonsensical death threats multiple times a day, and the president wasn't even in the state of California, so there wasn't much cause for alarm while the call was taking place.
Wait, so they knew he wasn't in California, and this person like kept making these calls up until the end of JFK. So this is weird. I don't get it. This is why the JFK discussion is kind of interesting to me in a way, mostly due to the fact that we quite literally don't have a straight answer to it, and we don't know if we ever will get one. But little pieces of information like this, even if it's not real, is crazy to think about. That somebody has been plotting this from who knows how long at this point. I don't get it. It's insane though.
President Kennedy was traveling in a motorcade. The exact time of Kennedy's death was 10:30. Disturbingly, the woman's prediction was exactly correct.
Let me just check real quick. Is that even true? I want to see. Did JFK die? 12:30 p.m. 1:30 New York time. He was pronounced dead at 1 p.m. and Mr. Johnson was sworn in at 2:39 p.m. Damn, that's it. The same day? Dang, okay. November. It was 12:30. Approximately 12:30. So yeah, I don't think this is true. I don't think this is a real story at all. Oh, but it's fun.
It gets even weirder. Kennedy was scheduled to arrive in the plaza before 10:30, but the motorcade ran late because President Kennedy kept stopping to shake hands with onlookers. Halfway through the call, the operators thought they heard the woman put the phone down and dial another number, and when they asked if she needed help, she responded, "No, I'm using the phone." It was after this that she bumped.
Why were you asking her if she needed help? She was just threatening the president. I don't get it. This is why this doesn't make any sense. Like, you literally got the time wrong. He was unalived at 12:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, 1:30 in New York time apparently, because I guess New York has a different time, like a different timing from where he was actually at, you know. So, I don't. This is not real.
Bumped the time of the president's death from 10:10 to 10:30. It's still completely unknown who made the call or how she knew it would happen and when.
Oh, that's it. So that was the first one. And that's a running theme with these old videos. And even he still kind of does it nowadays, but that's kind of the theme with these videos. They either go from scarily interesting, not like poop your pants scary, but still freaky enough to the point like it leaves you questioning. Like, why would this happen? What would motivate someone to do this? And truly, where did that man go? Did he get sent to the upside down? Did he get sent to the upside down? Because if so, I'm ready. Actually, here. I will go exploring for this man. Sorry. I will go exploring for this man in the upside down if it means I get to solve an unsolved mystery. Oh, yeah. What else? Which one else? What else should we do? This one's by Steven Shorter, so we have a credit here. I think I want to save the trailer for last, just because... Well, that's not going to bring this old content back. I think I'm going to save the trailer for last, though. Just because that's the one that genuinely freaked me out for years. It still kind of does. But I'm thinking we should either do Splash Mountain first, or second, and then the crawl space, or vice versa. I think I'll go with the crawl space. Because this one freaks me out too. Because it plays on a different fear of mine. And this story is by Dirty Mike and the Boys. Dirty Mike and the Boys. So, these old Mr. Nightmare creepypastas are so good, so nostalgic. I wish that as he grew his channel... went in this direction. Or at least wish he hadn't deleted all his old creepypastas. Yeah, because... Oh yeah, Cherry Coke is pretty goated. I'm more of a Cherry Pepsi guy myself, but... You know, you do you. But, I guess just... I know he had a reason for it. He made a video explaining the reason why they had to go. But... I don't remember the full answer. So... I'll definitely find out once I actually start making the video, but let's just get into this.
In my room, there's a small door leading to where the air conditioning unit is housed. This door has no locking mechanisms whatsoever, so it wasn't uncommon for it to open up by itself when swindled by a draft. It's impossible to close the door behind you once you get beyond it and enter the crawl space type area that it leads to. I have lived in this house for 5 years now, and for the first 4, I never gave the door a second thought. It wasn't until the 5th year that the door started making me feel unsettled. A few months ago, I was home alone. I'm 17 and I live in the bonus room, which is why it is connected to the crawl space. I had been upstairs playing on my PlayStation when the house phone rang.
I see he's on the right side. But, funny thing, I have my room and everything in my parents' basement, and there's a crawl space by the stairs of the basement. I've never gone in there. I never opened it. We have lived in this house for years now, and we've never looked inside the crawl space. And I think that's for the best. I really can't build the courage to actually do it. For one, because I don't know what's in there. I actually don't even know what is inside a crawl space, to be honest. So, I'm not going to mess with that. My parents never really wanted to mess with that. Also, it looks really dusty and a lot of spider webs in there, so I'm just not even going to bother. But this guy's story sounds a lot more unfortunate.
Normally I would answer the one I had upstairs, but I unplugged the charger and it died.
Go.
I sprinted down the stairs in order to answer the phone. My 2 dogs who were up there with...
I'm not even joking. I heard some kind of squishing noise behind me. Guys, I'm not even joking. I swear to God I heard something in the roof of the basement. It's not any upstairs noise, I don't think. I heard a squishing noise behind me, and then the fucking roof was... Don't tell me I have mice up there. I hope to God not. There have only been like 2 times I had to catch a mouse from inside the roof because they somehow found their way in. We don't have any, like... At least I hope we don't have any holes in there. They're just mice that somehow found their way into the roof of the basement. My cat killed the first one. But a second time, I had to use a mouse trap. And then there was a third time I had to use a mouse trap. But, after that third one, we haven't seen them again or heard from them again. So, my cat hasn't caught any since. So, hopefully we're fine.
with me were still at my heels. I picked up the phone. 1-800 service, of course. I let the dogs out back. I remember vaguely what happened. I opened the door. 3 beeps from the alarm system notified me, and then I closed it. Before going back upstairs, I went to the bathroom. While using the bathroom, I heard 3 beeps notifying me that a door had been opened. I didn't give it a second thought because I assumed my parents had just gotten home. Except I didn't hear their footsteps, and there were no voices. I got out of the bathroom and checked all 3 doors. The front door was locked, the garage was locked, and the back door was unlocked, but my dogs, who were a husky and a German shepherd, wouldn't have let a stranger near them without attacking them. I let them both in and locked the door. Maybe I just imagined it. I did have a pretty vivid imagination, and I do get a little paranoid when I'm...
See, there's something I don't get about some of these stories too. He leans into the idea of like anytime something paranormal or something freaky happens, they blame it on their imagination. Like, bro, your imagination is not supposed to escape your head unless you're some kind of schizophrenic. Alright? So, or I could be wrong. I just never gotten to that point of fear where I literally started hallucinating shit. You know? I mean, maybe except for those noises I heard behind me, but that literally could be anything. I have so much going on down here. I need to clean my room.
I'm home alone, so it wasn't out of the question. Hell, maybe I didn't close the back door all the way. Who knows? What I do know is that all the doors
That just means you're bad at security.
were locked or guarded by dogs when my parents left. It wasn't long after that when I would wake up in the morning and the door would be wide open. Sure, it did that once or twice over the course of my living here, so I could rationalize it, but I was still a little creeped out. But recently, it's been open in the morning at least once a week. So I told my parents, and they went out and got a latch for the door to keep it closed. This was such a relief. For about 3 weeks, the door was never opened. Then one day, I came home from school, and the latch was lying on the ground, next to the open door. That's around the time I started sleeping with a knife at my bedside.
Yeah, you gotta pull up with the blicky on the sticky. If some monster is breaking into your house, you gotta pull up with the Buck 360 here. This is 3D printed. YouTube, this is 3D printed. I promise you, it's plastic. I made it for my Halloween costume this year. I'm going as Ghostface with the Mortal Kombat outfit. It'll be pretty cool. I'll share it to my socials.
I put the latch on over and over, but every time I left for more than a few hours, it would have fallen off. I was worried and I didn't try and hide it from my parents. I told them time and time again the door was still opening. They blamed it on the cheap latch and told me I should just really get over it. I was almost 18 and would have to get over my fear of the dark eventually. Except it wasn't the darkness I was afraid of. I was afraid of whoever was living in that crawl space.
Exactly. It's not the fear of actually being in the dark. It's not the fact... I swear to God, I'm not hallucinating. What did I just hear outside? I think it was a dog barking. But either way, what was I saying? Yeah, it's not the actual, like, fear of the dark per se. It's what's in the dark. Like, I always sleep with my TV on because I don't like being in the pitch black. And the only time I do sleep with my light off, or sleep with my TV off, sorry, it's usually because, like, I'm either uber tired and just want to sleep, or it's like, or I just listen to music. But that's still on my TV where there's light, so I don't know. It is so rare for me to just sleep in the dark. Like, I could never. And I do have a, you guys see it in the videos too. I have a, well, let me show you. I do have a technical night light right here, but it just lights up this area and it doesn't light up a lot. So I still use my TV. And plus I have LED strips which kind of light up a portion of the basement. So I'm not always in the complete dark when I turn off my lights. but I do set a time limit for these lights. Like I have it set in the app where they go on until 2 a.m. and then they turn back on around 9. 2 a.m. because that's by the time I'm already asleep. And then 9 o'clock because that's when I like to wake up nowadays.
Space. One day I went down for breakfast and my parents just both stared at me solemnly. I asked what was wrong, if I had something in my teeth, and they just kept looking at me, as if I had done something to be ashamed of. "We heard you last night," my father said sternly. "Heard me doing what? Snoring?" "I'm sorry, it's just I've been having a lot of trouble sleeping." "No, not snoring.
Whoa.
We heard you rummaging through the kitchen last night. Didn't we tell you that?"
That was a good bit of editing, huh?
"Not snoring. I'm sorry, it's just I've been having a lot of trouble sleeping." "No."
No. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. It's just because I've been having a lot of trouble sleeping. No.
"Not snoring. We heard you rummaging through the kitchen last night. Didn't we tell you that's bad for your digestion? It didn't help that you were slamming cabinets at 3 in the morning, waking everyone up. If you're hungry during the nights, just eat more dinner. You know we have plenty of food, so you don't have to starve yourself," he finished.
Well, you know
"Dad,
what?
I didn't get up last night. I hadn't. I think I would have remembered if I had." "Oh really? It wasn't you?" he said sarcastically, like I was trying to fool him, but I wasn't. "Yeah, Dad, it wasn't me. Don't lie to me." "I'm not, I swear." "Maybe you were sleepwalking? It sounded just like the way you walk whenever you go to the bathroom at night, and..."
Is sleepwalking real? Like, can I ask that? Is sleepwalking a real thing? Because if it is, that is terrifying. I don't know how real it is. Like, I guess there is some cases of people, like, sleepwalking when there's others around, or they, like, are shown, like, sleepwalking through an indoor security camera, which, I'll be honest, it's kind of odd to put a security camera inside your house instead of outside, but I guess it just depends on how you feel. If you have nothing to hide, then, like, sure, keep it inside, but, man, I see people who put security cameras in their little kids' room, like their children's rooms, which I guess is fair. It would make sense as to why they would need one in there, maybe. But I don't know. We lived in a small house for a while, so we never needed anything like that for the inside. So maybe it would make sense to get a camera for the inside of the house, but, you know, I don't want you guys to see what I do at 3 a.m.
"And I could have sworn I heard your door open." "Dad, I haven't sleepwalked in years, you know that." That's when the reality of the situation hit me. "Well, you're the only one who likes cherry cokes, so unless it was a damn ghost in the crawl space, I don't know who else it could have been," he said, then checked.
So you admit there's something wrong with the crawl space. Care to look into it, Dad? In your own house?
Checking his phone. "Shit, I'm gonna be late. I love you, son. Stop
Hey, stop using foul language.
starving yourself." He then walked out the door, closing it behind him. 3 beeps. I didn't sleep much after that. Most nights I would have the TV on and just look at the door, latched, locked, and all. I still had school, so the latest I would stay up with a good conscience was usually 4, knowing if I stayed up later the next day, I would want to kill myself.
Oof.
But even then, I would sleep for only 2 hours, and when I woke up, the door would be open, latch lying on the ground beside it. Eventually, the door would be open every morning.
See, but here's what I don't get. The latch keeps falling off, and the door opens. Why is nobody investigating this? Like, he keeps having conversations with his parents about, oh, the latch to the crawl space keeps falling off, but we don't know why. And it's like all the way open. Like, bro, you're not even gonna try and investigate at all? Like, I guess it would just be a little too freaky, but it sounds like his dad doesn't even, like, believe it himself. So it's like, oh my god, are these guys are just so fucking dense.
I decided it could no longer be a coincidence, and I had to do something about it. The night came where 4 a.m. came around, and I turned off my TV and I laid there, waiting. About 30 minutes later, the first push came. Slow but strong. Then another push. And then another. On the fourth and most powerful push, the latch fell to the ground, and the door slowly opened.
Bro.
I waited, eyes squinted to mimic the look of sleep. His head poked out. Whoever was in there may have been human, but I doubt it.
Bro.
The lights were off, so I can't be sure, but once the door was completely open, it made its way out head first, using his arms to drag him through the opening. Once he pulled his entire body out, I could see the silhouette of what seemed to be a thin, hairless man. He lunged towards me once.
You got a crackhead in your crawl space? Excuse me? You have a crackhead in your crawl space? No. No. We're moving. Or just call the police. I don't want to deal with a crackhead in my crawl space.
Propelling himself with his forearms. I could hear my heart beating, and I know it could hear it too. My breaths got louder and deeper, and I almost started weeping. His hairless head turned slowly towards me. I could feel its glare burning through my skull. Taking quick, silent lunges towards me, I heard it make its way over to where I slept. I dared not open my eyes, but I could hear it sniffing in the air. I sensed its presence directly beside me, level with my face. My heart beated faster and my breaths got louder. That's when it got closer, facing the side of my face, breathing directly onto me. My eyes were still closed, but I heard...
The meth head is a creeper. Ew. I don't like that. Ew. Oh my god. And I do like how he describes this thing though. We don't know if it's a monster specifically or if it's just a crackhead, but the way he describes it and the way it like moves around, and it almost makes it feel like it knows what it's doing, but at the same time it's having a lot of fun doing it. And those are the kinds of people you have to look out for, because that shit is scary. Like, that is genuinely scary. But at the same time, we don't even know what this creature is. So, you know, that's just kind of what the charm of these videos as well. They never fully reveal what the monster actually looks like, or even what it is.
I heard him open his mouth and close it, clacking his teeth together.
Oh.
Soon he turned around and crawled on all fours back into the crawl space. I heard creaks and cracks as it made itself at home in the crevices of our walls. Just when I thought it was safe to open my eyes, just slightly, I heard it rise from within the crawl space. The pitter-patter of his hands and feet against the wooden door. I shut my eyelids as tightly as I could. It made its way back to the still open door, and then something fell. It turned back and made its way back to its home in the crevice. I didn't sleep the rest of the night, and when morning came, I didn't get out. "Alex!" my father screamed.
Dude. That is fucked. Oh my god. He's in the walls. He's in the goddamn wall! Dude. That is not cool. I don't like that. I don't like it. Get the pepper spray. Get the blicky on the sticky. He said he had a knife, right? So I don't know. Just because you have a knife doesn't really mean, like, you're all the way protected, you know?
"If you don't get out of bed right now, you're gonna be late." Get up. Sorry, I just had this really bad nightmare. I'll be up in a sec. I have to go, he said. Door closed, 3 beeps. I walked over to the crawlspace door to close it. I looked down and next to the lock was an empty cherry Coke can. I need to get out of this house soon.
Or call the po-po. Bro, what are you still doing there? And why does your dad not believe you? He can't even be bothered to go and look. Well, I wouldn't want to by that description. If I was told there was a thin, hairy man in the crawl space of my house, I'd probably move out immediately. Take my stuff. Keep my PS5. I don't want it. I might come back for the PS5. Now, which one? What else did we want to do? Or did I want to do? Sorry. Chicken Bones is interesting. I don't know if this was nearly as popular as some of his other ones, but I know Splash Mountain is. You know what? Screw it. Let's just do this one.
I think it...
Now, I don't know if this particular music is copyright protected. I don't believe so. Because everybody and their grandma used this man's music. And I know exactly who the guy is. Because I've also used his music before. But I don't fully know if this is going to get copyrighted. I doubt it. Because again, everybody and their grandma used this song. So, and also, Splash Mountain, yes, this is the story based on a real life roller coaster, or at least used to be real. It got replaced by Princess and the Frog, I guess. But this story is based on that ride, which a Disney ride, by the way, which is also based on an old Disney movie from like the 40s. And I'll just say this. If you looked a little too deep into that movie's history and what the symbolisms are in that original film, what they are and what they could possibly mean in a real life context, that might be a bit scarier than what happens in this story.
I think it's safe to say most Americans have either been to Disneyland or Disney World. I've been to Disney World in Orlando twice now. The first time I went, I was 10 years old. Me and my family just returned from our second trip as a family, 10 years later. We went during February, so it was relatively quiet at all the parks. We did go to all 4 parks. We started with the Hollywood Studios, then Epcot, then the Animal Kingdom, and then finally the Magic Kingdom. I had a great time until I went on Splash Mountain.
Okay, genuinely, what is that thing? That weird-ass crocodile lizard thing. I'm just gonna... I always wondered what that thing was. The hitchhiking alligator. From the Splash Mountain ride at Disneyland. Ah, so he is part of the attraction. That's weird. The hitchhiking alligator, huh? You look even freakier here than in the photo. If you can hear my computer, it is taking all its might to load one image. I guess they changed them, huh? Interesting. Then there's this image. Now associated with this long forgotten YouTube video that only half of these people watching even remember.
Splash Mountain is one of the more popular rides at Disney World, and I remember it being my favorite 10 years ago. Since we left all the other parks relatively early, we decided to stay at the Magic Kingdom until midnight. After the nightly fireworks, the park started to really quiet down, basically to the point that the park was dead. We got on a few attractions with no lines. My little brother, who was 13, was really getting into the spirit. He was wearing mouse ears and a bright green Mickey Mouse shirt. Me and my older brother teased him about it throughout the day. Somehow, we were so busy that it wasn't until around 11:30 at night that I remembered that we hadn't even gone on Splash Mountain. I reminded my family, but my parents reminded me that the ride closes at 11. Since we were already in the Frontierland, which is the section of the park that Splash Mountain is in, I convinced my family to check anyway. I walked ahead of my family to try and save time. When I arrived to the Splash Mountain area, there wasn't a soul in sight.
This
other
is a
than
sick
the guy
image of
manning
the
the
ride, by the
entrance.
way.
He informed me that the ride closes when the park closes. I had a feeling I was right, but I suddenly...
Okay. I should probably explain a little bit. I think he does later, but I should probably explain what this ride actually is. For those who don't know, obviously Splash Mountain is like the water park themed ride at Disney World or Land. I don't remember which one. It's in Florida. I think it's Disneyland, but it's a water park ride where you ride around in these log boats and you basically go through the first 3 plots of the original film. Or, because see, the original film, it's mostly in real life, but they do have these animated segments. And that's what the ride mainly focuses on. The first story, the third story, and the final story. The backstory behind the actual Splash Mountain ride and the subsequent movie it's based on is honestly far more interesting than what we're going to get in this video, but I digress. And again, it's one of those things that's like, where did the idea for this come from? Who wrote this? Was it him? Was it actually him? That bird is scary. Yes, it is. Spoopy, scary bird. You're definitely a kid. I'll fight it IRL. I will fight that bird and I will win.
suddenly felt the urge to pee, so I called out to my family, who was still approaching the entrance, to wait while I ran to the bathroom. Conveniently, there was one right by the entrance. I'll spare you the details, but after I returned to the entrance of the ride, my family was gone. I called for them, walking around cluelessly, but there wasn't even a response. I turned back to the entrance to ask the worker who was standing there if he saw where they went, but he was gone too. I was about to take out my phone and call them when suddenly I heard the sound of my 2 brothers laughing from down the entrance of the ride. What the hell are they doing? I thought. They're not planning on going the ride without me, are they? I ran down the cave-like entrance of the ride, but the sounds of my brothers laughing didn't seem to get any closer. I called out for my parents and for my brothers, but they didn't respond. How could they not hear me? I made it to the room where you board the log boats, but there were no employees anywhere in sight. But what I did see was one of the boats leaving the boarding room, and I could see my little brother in his green shirt and mouse ears sitting in the back seat of...
Now here's where we're going to get a little bit inaccurate to reality. Not that this was following reality, but I have to say this. If I've never really seen Disney World at night or Land at night, but I'm assuming, and going off of Alpha Rad's video where he spent a whole day at Disney World or Land. Again, I don't know which is the difference. I just know it's in Florida. But whichever one he went to, if it's at night, there's still at least a few employees at a ride. And even if it is closed, I'm pretty sure there's somebody that still needs to be there. And if there's not, then it's all closed off and you can't even get inside. So technically, these guys are breaking and entering to a ride that should not be working in the first place. Unless there's somebody left behind who just really wants to mess with them, which Might be the case here, but they don't do a great job at explaining it.
One of them. He was next to somebody else, probably my older brother. I screamed their names in anger, but they didn't hear me. I couldn't understand why they would go on the ride without me. Another boat was about to leave the room, so I hopped onto it since there were no employees to tell me otherwise. I was on the next boat behind my family. As I slowly rowed out of the room and eventually outside, I couldn't see my family ahead of me. It didn't make sense.
Yes, this bird. This weird-ass bird. Hold on. That was the bird. That bird was in the original thumbnail. I gotta find out about this too. Let me just go from here. And now... I just went to Unsolved Mysteries. Alright. Who are you? It's an animatronic goose from the former Disney theme park attraction Splash Mountain. Yeah, former, because that shit doesn't exist anymore. Dixie's Land, the laughing place. Yeah, like I said, the lore for the original movie and ride is completely, like, way more unique than what this story gives us. The laughing place is one of the main stories they tell in the... I think it's the last one they tell in Song of the South. Which, that's the movie's original name, by the way. Song of the South. I don't know if he stated that yet, but it is. Yeah, now these are animatronics that can freak me out a little bit. Geese appreciation post. Appreciation was given. I appreciate the geese. Who's this guy? 1904, the talented and legendary James Franklin Baskett was born in... Oh my god, this is a whole Wikipedia page. Baskett played many roles in his lifetime, but perhaps his most famous role was playing as Uncle Remus. Oh yeah, that is him. Uncle Remus. Not that Uncle Remus. And providing the voice of Brer Fox in Disney's Song of the South. It was this role and the help of Walt Disney himself that Baskett became the first African-American man to revive an Oscar. Okay, that's interesting. Baskett passed away shortly after in 1948. See, it was in the 40s. But his work and accomplishments will never be forgotten, especially his performance as the crazy, chaotic fox we all love. I like that. Yeah, and the stories themselves weren't... Oh. We're not going to look at that. I don't know who this man is. He just exists. I like that. I like this little short piece of Wikipedia. Who is this guy? Oh.
In Song of the South, a combination of animation and live action released in 1946.
The animated sections were...
Hold on. One of Disney's 9 old men, Mitt Cal, talks about the 3 Brers. Brers? I honestly don't know if that's how it's pronounced. I know they just call themselves brother in the movie, so... Brers in this interview. I like how he talks about the Brers being entertaining because of the way they all contrast and bounce off each other. Yeah.
Rather, I always thought a high for us. You know, they were, the characters were, well, I've often said that if there's anything good about our pictures, it's because the characters were rich. Well, they were rich there. You know, they were very rich and very contrasting. You know.
Yeah, I guess so. What's this? America Sings. Here's the Jazz Fox. This guy's got a real passion for old Disney, doesn't he? Or she. Brother man. He really does have a passion for it, huh? I like that. He's found his niche and he's just sticking to it. That's awesome.
Welcome, bitch ass niggas. I'm in a goddamn storm. I ain't scared
Why
of the
is he on a
storm,
green
bitch ass
screen?
niggas. I bring the storm, ho.
Why is he on a green screen? I'm not gonna. Oh my god. He really did find his niche. That's awesome. That's pretty cool. What is this? It's the three rabbits. That's awesome. We got Brer Rabbit. We got the woman in that one movie. Zootopia. That's it. Zootopia. I forgot her name. Judy Hopps. That's it. And Roger Rabbit. That's cute. I like that. I'm not gonna look at that. What is this? The Walt Disney Family Museum. Oh. That's neat. I should probably get back to the video, shouldn't I? Is that... When did this happen? 84 weeks ago? That's not a date. 68 weeks ago. Interesting. I like this. That's cool. Keep up that niche, man. Let's continue the story.
I wasn't too far behind them to start with. How fast could their boat be going? I sat with mixed emotions, mostly confusion and anger, as the ride slowly progressed, until I finally entered the cave with all of those singing robots. I guess
Yeah,
where the
and
ride actually begins.
the thing is, too,
This
though...
is where things began to get strange.
That is the thing, too, though. I'm not even afraid of most animatronics. Like, FNAF pretty much desensitized me to all of it. But there are some occasions where there are just some occasions when an animatronic is designed in a certain way that can just really set me off.
Well, stranger. The first things I was greeted by were a bunch of giant singing birds. I remembered these things
Geese.
from 10 years ago.
They're singing geese.
As they sang their song, their heads slowly turned to constantly face the boat. And their eyes, all their eyes seemed to be locked onto mine. I didn't remember them doing this last time. It was very unsettling seeing those things looking at me as if they were actually aware of my presence. I obviously assumed it was just some updated technology to add to the atmosphere of the ride. After all, it was Disney. Sitting all alone on this ride,
It's
I
always
felt
been strange to me, too, how... Holy shit, that scared me, too. That's my water cleaning system. Ignore that. This is what's kind of weirded me out about some of the pro tags in Mr. Nightmare stories. Because their rationalities never really make that much sense, you know? And it's just like, where do you come up with these ideas? Like, they got this new programming to, like, stare at the boat? Like, just the boat? Or maybe they're just programmed to stare at you, FNAF 2 style. My water filtration system sounds like a crunched up water bottle. That is a... Give me 1 second real quick. That does not sound right. was fine. I'd have to bring that up to my parents, because I mean, it seems to be going fine. There's enough salt in the tank. It just sounds like a crunched up water bottle. I never heard it sound like that. Maybe it's like needing of a deep clean. I don't know. I don't see any. I thought for a second it was leaking water, but that was just the machine working. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to ask my parents about that later.
Uncomfortable? I know it's a Disney ride, but you wouldn't understand. Being on a dark and slow ride all alone at this time at night, with seemingly nobody around, it gives a very unsettling feeling. After the birds, I slowly approached Bear Fox and Brer Bear, who were seemingly plotting to capture Brer Rabbit. See, if you know anything about this ride, you would know that you're entertained throughout by animatronic versions of the characters from the movie Song of the South.
Yeah, there you go.
Specifically, a hungry fox and his dim-witted henchman Bear, who constantly
Well,
make
howdy
goofy
there,
attempts to
brother
capture a
fox.
rabbit for a quick snack. Anyway, back to the ride. Normally Brer Bear would be carrying around a big wooden club, but this animatronic, he was holding an axe. And instead of his normally goofy appearance, he had a more intimidating look that was definitely not child-friendly. And standing on his shoulders was Brer Fox, only a much more evil and scary version. He had much sharper teeth, and instead of his kid-friendly evil smile, it was a much more disturbing face, a clearly unhappy and resentful face. Upon getting closer, I could see that the fox had a large knife in his hand. The two animatronics began speaking, or at least the ride audio provided the sounds of their characters speaking, but the voices were also off. The voice of the bear was so muffled and distorted that it was incomprehensible, and the voice of the fox, it almost sounded demonic. The background music was too loud for me to make out anything being said, though. My boat passed the two characters, only to approach something equally unsettling. There was Brer Rabbit, but instead of singing like I remembered he did, he was just sitting on top of a broken mailbox. Instead of his normally happy face, he had on a depressed face with bloodshot eyes and a red stain on his pink shirt.
That's some Squidward having fun reference from back in the day. Well, I don't know why. Having bloodshot eyes back then, or like deep red bloodshot eyes in your character on an already existing character, was enough to like scare the living bejeebus out of people. It was such a weird trend that started, all because of Squidward. But so far this is reading like a parody or some kind of spin-off to that one popular creepypasta, also based on a Disney attraction, Abandoned by Disney, and its subsequent sequel, Room Zero. If you guys actually know what that is, oh my god, please tell me, because we need to have a conversation. Was that actually real? Did that actually happen? And here's a better question. Why was the story so interesting, actually?
Presumably blood. This wasn't right. Disney wouldn't do something like this. I didn't want to be on that ride anymore. I shouted out for my family in hopes that they might hear me, but there was no response. The song switched to the Laughing Place song, but it sounded different. It didn't have that cheerful feel to it. At this point, every single animatronic character on the side was making direct eye contact with me. They were not cheerful, kid-friendly faces, though. They were angry, hateful faces. This has to be a joke, I thought. I must be going crazy or something. They wouldn't do something like this. Not at a kid's park.
Here's what's crazy about this part, though. I did not know what he was stuffed into. But when I did some research, apparently that's a beehive that he's stuffed into. Because it was meant to replace a previous, it was meant to replace like a previous iteration of how this scene went down in the original movie, which depending on how you want to look at it, I guess, because it seemed like to be like, I'm not going to get too far into it because I genuinely don't know. It was such a goofy scene as a kid, but like as an adult, apparently there's like some weird racial, some weird like sensitive racial things going on there, which is a running theme throughout the whole movie, whether it was intentional or not, and that's, I think, what makes it so fascinating. But we're just gonna move on from that.
The next time that I saw the main characters, it was even worse. Burr Fox was waving his arm in anger and yelling something incomprehensible at Bear Bear, whose axe was now covered in blood. The first thought that came up
These
was,
animatronics
whose
have
or
blood.
what's blood?
Yes, you're correct.
And then I saw that Bear Fox was actually waving something in his hand. It was a dismembered arm, the arm of Bear Rabbit. In front of the two robots was a blood trail that looked too real. It all looked too real. I could see fake blood dripping out of the prop that the fox was holding. It has to be fake blood, I thought to myself.
Yeah, but you gotta ask yourself, why
Before
is there
exiting
blood?
this section of the ride, there was one more disturbing scene. Bear Rabbit limping across the field with a trail of blood following him. It didn't make sense. The blood actually dripped on the floor, only appearing behind him. How could that be unless someone cleans up the blood after every time a boat passes by? But by this time, it was pointless to try and rationalize any of this. All I wanted was to get off this ride and see my family's reaction. After this,
I
finally
wonder
came
if
the
that's
most
actual
anticipated
music and
part of the
sounds
ride,
from the real
which
ride.
is the big drop. The boat climbed up to an angle and began to climb up the hill. At this point, anybody would be excited, but I wasn't even thinking about it. I was so focused on what I had just seen on a Disney ride. As I neared the top of the hill, there was...
Bro, you'd be surprised how dark Disney can go. Like, if your idea of an edgy storytelling is anywhere near as, like, surprising or dark as what anything else Disney has done, like, obviously it's dark, but, like, not in the same kind of dark as, like, oh, I don't know, editor me put some kind of reference to what I'm trying to get across here. And that's just the beginning.
There's one more scene waiting at the side. From what I remember 10 years ago, it was Bear Rabbit tied to a pole over a fire, begging to be let go by Bear Fox. But this time, it was the most disturbing thing I've ever seen in my life. Bear Rabbit was still seen tied to a pole over a fire, but Bear Bear was also there this time, with Bear Fox standing right beside him. The bear raised his axe high in the air, and with one swift and almost too realistic motion, he swung the axe straight through Bear Rabbit's neck.
That's another thing, too, that kind of freaked people out back in the day, huh? The idea of a story telling of the event in the term of, like, oh, it was uber realistic. Like, these animatronics, their movements were so lifelike, and they, like, killed them real right there. Or, like, their eyes and their movements looked way too human. Which I guess it is kind of freaky, but at the same time, like, it's hard to imagine, like, a robot. It's kind of hard to imagine, like, a robot moving in a realistic motion like that. Like, just imagine for a sec. This is him. This is what a robot would actually look like hacking somebody's head off. Like something out of Megan.
Slicing his head clean off. Fake blood sprayed out from the thing as the head fell to the floor. The red liquid even sprayed onto my face, and that's when I smelt it. The metallic smell that blood gives off. It was real blood.
Dun, dun,
I started to gag in disgust and shock, ready to throw up. The head hit the ground with a loud thud and then rolled into the water. Suddenly, all the lights in the ride went out and all the background noises stopped, and it was pitch dark inside. All I could see was the hint of moonlight coming from the top of the hill, and then coming from behind me. Even over the sounds of the rails pulling the boat up the hill and the water moving down the hill, I could hear the sound of heavy splashing coming from the bottom. The kind of splashing you would hear from somebody running through water. I turned around to see nothing but darkness behind me, but the splashing was getting louder, and just as I reached the top of the lift hill, I could see a giant humanoid figure, probably 8 feet tall, begin to run up the lift hill. As it ran closer, it stretched out its long arms, seemingly ready to pull me out of this boat. The shock of it all prevented me from being able to note any of its features before dropping down to the bottom of the hill outside. What did I just see? I must be going crazy. What the fuck was that?
Watch that foul language, Sonny. Very good question, though. Who was that and why? Hint, it never gets revealed.
Thought it was all a dream. I pinched myself. I even slapped myself in the face a few times. But it was real. Whatever, I was outside now. This was my chance to get off this nuthouse ride. I looked for any place to climb over the fake rock walls, but all of the walls were covered by big spikes.
Which is a real
thing. They weren't
thing.
even just decorative props. These things looked dangerously sharp. Hell, they looked deadly.
Okay, maybe
and they
not
covered
that
every
bad.
single imaginable place to climb out. It was like I was really in a giant briar patch.
And here's the thing, though. Here's what's throwing me off. Why would Disney, a large-ass corporation like it is, with such, like, street cred in the business world, well, maybe not in their movie department, but still, a company with so much street cred in the business world, why in God's blue earth would they involve real spikes into their fictional giant ass briar patch roller coaster? People would be getting eviscerated if that was the case, if they even got touched by them at all, or if they did try to touch it. I guarantee you it's at least some form of plastic. Like, I don't get the obsession for storytelling back then to make every scary story sound as realistic as possible. Or like, this thing that was meant to be fake, it's actually real. And I'm just like, bro, that's not right. Like, how did the Disney employees have enough time to replace the fake spikes with real spikes? And if they were real spikes before, why did nobody notice or complain? Because I swear, if it was shown that there was real spikes like that with the possibility of harming somebody at a Disney ride, there's going to be an even bigger uproar than when they casted... we're not going to go into that.
These spikes were put here to prevent anybody from escaping the ride. I pulled out my phone and turned on its flashlight to see if it was safe to even hop out of the boat. I shined the flashlight down into the water, revealing even more spikes under the water. There was no way out at all. I screamed at the top of my lungs for help, but there was nobody around. It was pointless. I continued to constantly glance over my shoulder to make sure that that thing that I saw wasn't behind me. And with...
So wait a minute, you screamed out loud. knowing full well you were just being chased by somebody right behind your boat, somehow moving faster than the current of the actual boat, which I guess it was going upwards, so it makes sense. But you screamed out loud for help, even though you were just being chased not even a minute ago? I don't know. I don't get it.
With that, I slowly rode back into the caves of the ride, where I was greeted by the Zippity Doodah song. Only, it was a much slower and depressing version. The first thing I was greeted by...
That might get me copyrighted. I don't know if this song is gonna get me copyrighted or not. It's just a slowed version of the original, so maybe not? But at the same time, I don't know. Plus the ride doesn't even exist anymore, so...
After riding into the cave, Bear Rabbit, and to the right were countless animatronic animals, ranging from frogs to chickens, and to the right were head reading "Rest in Peace, Bear Rabbit" to chickens to ducks, all dressed in black, apparently mourning at the death of Bear Rabbit.
See, well, here's the question. Why is any of this happening in the first place? Why did Brer Rabbit have to die? And why are they even real? These are all questions that do not get answered. And that's just kind of the point of these stories. It's like all this shit happens just because there's no real reason given, which might that might add to why it's scary. But at the same time, like, how do you expect me to be invested in this story if I don't understand what's going on? Why are the animatronics real? Were they just real characters who just happened to turn psychopath? I don't know. This is just strange. I don't get why this is all happening. I don't like it.
Suddenly, the boat came to a sudden stop, and all the background music stopped, along with the motors and water flow, leaving nothing but utter silence. I focused my attention to the dozens of animatronic characters who were now all frozen, apparently turned off. I turned away, scanning the room for any actual living beings or some kind of exit. I again resorted to shouting for help, but of course it did no good. Just as I was ready to give up trying to escape the ride, my luck finally seemed to change as I saw the glowing red text of an exit sign, slightly hidden behind a big rock. That was my way out. There were no spikes in here. I took one more glance over my shoulder to make sure nothing was behind me, but that's when I saw something in my peripheral vision. I didn't want to look, but I forced myself to turn around and see that the dozens of mourning animatronic animals have all turned their heads to face me.
Bro.
But whatever was doing this didn't allow me to witness this for more than a few seconds because the lights went out inside the cave, once again leaving me in complete darkness and silence. Even though it was rather cold inside, I felt myself starting to sweat, and I could feel my heart punching the inside of my chest. Then, the sound of heavy footsteps coming from the platform broke the silence.
Okay, not gonna lie, that is
I found myself
terrifying.
hugging the edge of the boat, too scared to even think about getting out of the boat. The footsteps stopped right at the edge of the platform, and then the boat started to rock back and forth. Something got into the boat. I leaned against the wall in shock and horror, still as a statue. The thought of something grabbing my foot the second I tried to hop out of the boat haunted my mind, paralyzing me in that position.
And you couldn't see him
I
at
stayed
all?
still like this, not even moving my arm to itch for what felt like 10 minutes. My eyes were somewhat adjusting to the dark, but I refused to turn my head to see what was behind me. Just as soon as I began to think I should make a dash for it, I felt something grab my right shoulder. I didn't even dare to look at the hand that was grabbing me. I immediately jumped out of the boat and ran onto the platform. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight, helping me find my way through the props to the exit door. The door led to a long hallway where I eventually found a back door leading to the outside of the ride.
I think I'm starting to understand why everything is happening. The animatronics are slowly becoming real life, like creatures. And the main man running this is William Afton. This is just a parody of Five Nights at Freddy's, except everything is becoming too real, and William Afton's trying to kill you for looking at any of it. It's exactly like the plot in the movie, alright? The animatronics get a little too lively, and William Afton tries to... Oh, wait, no. Here's how it went, okay? The animatronics are participating in this strange, depraved fantasy that William has, and when he sees that you're the one like riding through the whole thing, he tries to get you to go away from it because he was embarrassed and he didn't want to let anybody see it. I don't know. I'm just throwing shit out there. I'm just goofing, alright?
I was safe. I made it out alive. I immediately dialed my mom's phone number and she answered within seconds as if she was waiting for me to call. I asked her if she was alright and she said she was fine. I screamed into the phone to meet me by the exit of the park right away. She sounded confused and asked me where I was, but I hung up the phone and ran to the exit of the Magic Kingdom, planning to never return again. Since this experience, my parents have been sending me to many psychiatrists and seeking as much therapeutic help as possible, but I'm still convinced that I hadn't imagined it. It was too real. My advice to you, never ride something like this alone during a very slow day late at night. I don't know how or why they would do this, but I don't know if Disney is hiding something. I still think of the creature I caught a glimpse of and...
They're clearly not hiding anything if they're this bad at keeping their parks under good security. Or like, they wouldn't be trying to hide anything if their fake Briar Patch apparently is a real giant Briar Patch with a possible threat of harming the people attending the ride. You know? It's just like, what could they be trying to hide by making everything as like open and honest as possible? Especially for people who are just willingly like open to come inside. And it's not like, oh, I get. But then again, who was that mysterious guy chasing him throughout the whole thing? Like, who was that? What was it? Was it Brer Rabbit? Was it Brother Fox? Was it Uncle Remus? Was it? I don't know. Was it Walt Disney himself? Did he finally get unthawed and he came to stop you from watching his depraved show? I don't know. Mr. Nightmare, if you're watching this, please, I need an answer. Where was your head at when you wrote this? This is very confusing. Okay.
Whatever the thing was that was in the boat with me, I sometimes wish I had turned around to see what had grabbed my shoulder, just to kill the curiosity that I know will never go away. But maybe I should be happy I didn't turn around. Possibly the strangest thing about all of this, though, when I met up with my family at the exit of the park and tried to get some reactions from them, they told me that after I went to the bathroom, they simply walked around waiting for me. They never got on the ride.
And there's the big plot twist of the whole damn puzzle. It never actually happened. That's the twist. None of this happened. Disney wasn't hiding anything. He's a schizophrenic, just like every other character in these Mr. Nightmare stories. This is just so weird to think that all of these characters are just really crazy and experiencing most of this firsthand. All right. I guess to finish this night off, because we've been kind of going at it for a little while now. We're just gonna sit here and watch the trailer, all the way through. Very little pausing, because I like to finish this and then get to the research, like actually researching what happened. And again, this unlocked a fear in me, so we're going back to some past trauma.
Ever since I was little, me and my family always took trips upstate New York to the Catskills. We had this old beat-up trailer up there. It was probably around 50 years old at the time.
Is that a real
It had
trailer?
a kitchen, a bathroom, a living room, and 2 bedrooms.
I always
Back
like
when
to
all 6 of
assume.
us, me, my 2 brothers, my parents, and my dog Chester, went up there.
I always like to
Me and
assume
my
this is a
little
cat,
brother,
a
Joey,
trailer
would
he
have to
visited
sleep in the living room on the couches,
that he just put
as
in the
there were
video
only 2
to
beds.
dox himself.
One queen-size bed for my parents, and one single bed for my older brother Tom. Sleeping in the living room was the one part me and Joe hated about going up there. In the middle of nowhere, with only an old wooden door protecting us from whatever psychopath wanted to break in and kill us.
Yeah.
Well, I was only 10 and Joey was only 5, so we had active imaginations. And it's a little understandable for little kids to be scared in situations like these. But the worst part of this living room at night were the blinds. You would think blinds would make you feel safer, blocking out the blackness from outside, but these blinds didn't even cover half the window. We were exposed to the blackness of the outside. The thoughts of somebody or something standing out there, watching me sleep, always haunted my mind. I always slept facing away from the window. Chester always slept in the living room with me and Joey, which made us feel a little safer. Every night, however, at around the same time, we would wake up to the sound of Chester looking out the window, growling. I was always too afraid to go check outside, so I would call my dad and tell him to go look. He would always step outside and take a look to make us feel better, and then he would come back in and tell us it was probably just a deer. There came a time where my dad grew sick of this routine every night, and told us to ignore it and go back to sleep. As the years passed, my mother grew tired of going up there. Chester passed away, and my older brother was always too busy with his new job. He never really enjoyed it as much as me, Joey, and my dad did anyway. This was the first year that it was just the 3 of us going up there. It kind of saddened me knowing that someday soon my dad would have to sell this place. I knew he couldn't afford to keep paying the taxes for a place that we only visited once a year. For all I knew, this was the last time we would be going up there. It was a long 4-hour drive from our Long Island house to the Catskill Mountains. I didn't sleep much during the ride this time. I just watched as the buildings surrounding the highways turned from houses to trees, and then eventually to hills and mountains. It was around 5 o'clock when we arrived to the old sign that advertised a horseback riding business. That's how we always knew that we were there. Just a few more turns. We passed by just about the only
I knew I was in the northern region of where I live because of this county fair we would have every year. It would have this and even in the areas of Michigan where they even in just the downtown Detroit area, they would have these mini postcards or posters of the county fair coming that year. And anytime I actually got near that place, with the place where they were advertising where it was, because you would see posters of it all over the city area. Then that's how I knew I was at the upmost northern part of Michigan before It's not near the UP, but yeah, I'll get to that later. I'll probably talk about it later.
Neighboring house for about a mile. I don't even know if I would call this a house. It was more of a trailer type home itself. It was relatively close to our trailer, just a few turns away.
Oh,
We never saw.
I also forgot to mention, this is apparently based on a true story that Mr. Nightmare had, which also is the story he tells in this video. 4 true scary stories and 1 personal story. That's based on a real story.
Who lived there, we never saw any sign of life there.
Or
was
inspired by,
strange,
I should say.
Every time we drove by, the grass seemed freshly cut. We never really thought about it too much, and usually just shrugged it off with some logical explanations. We arrived at the trailer, and stepping out of the car, I immediately picked up on that great country air smell.
Wait. Let me ask. So, you only come to this place once a year, and the grass seems freshly cut. Now, quick question. What's the house doing in the rest of the year? Or the trailer? What is the trailer doing for the rest of the year? Like, is it just being watched by the neighbors, if there's any? Or is it like a state or city thing where somebody will just come by to do your grass once a year? I don't know. Taxes are there for a reason. Make them work somehow.
For the rest of the day, we just relaxed and watched some TV with a very limited selection of channels. Once it gets dark up there, there's nothing you can do outside. It gets creepy up there at night. Even my dad admitted that once, which kind of creeped me out because he was never one to admit fear to us. Once we got hungry, my dad decided to go get a pizza for dinner. My little brother always had a sweet tooth, and he knew that if he went with my dad, he would convince him to buy him candies and a soda. I have been alone in the trailer many times,
There's
but
nothing
that was
like an
during the
Italian
day.
cheese
I
bread
didn't mind
with
that,
garlic sauce.
but the sky was already getting dark, and I knew that it was a fairly long drive to the pizza place. They wouldn't be back until there was full darkness. I didn't want to show my dad that I was afraid though, so I stayed, asking them to bring extra oregano. I heard the Honda start and moved from the grass to the gravel road before driving off. I was watching TV in the living room. It was dark enough where I had to turn on the lights at this point. It was getting darker faster than I had hoped. I then realized that, with the lights on and the curtains open, I was in full view for any psycho killer outside. I knew shutting these shitty blinds would be pointless, as they wouldn't even cover me. I was scared shitless. I don't know why.
Bro,
I
I will tell you one right now. Living, or not living, being in the, like, countryside of any, like, U.S. state out there, it is, honest to God, just, it's a blessing during the day, but at night, it gets scary, dude. Like, I can't tell you the amount of times when me and, like, a family member or a friend have been hanging out outside at night by the bonfire. And it's a pretty sight at night. But at the same time, like, you're always worrying about, like, coyotes and other pieces of wildlife coming to visit you at night. Like, there have been plenty of times where deer have roamed through people's backyards and, like, got chased down by coyotes. So that's one scary thing about living in the middle of nowhere. But it's just, man, I love hanging out in the countryside sometimes, but at the same time, there's a lot there's a lot of anxiety when it comes to the nighttime here. There's a lot of anxiety when it comes to the nighttime here. There's a lot of anxiety when it comes to the nighttime here. There's a lot of anxiety when it comes to the nighttime here. There's a lot of anxiety when it comes to the nighttime here. There's a lot of anxiety when it comes to the nighttime here. So, it's like I love being here when it's the daytime, but I hate the nighttime.
I had to calm myself down, telling myself that there's no one out there, and that nobody's sick enough to be watching me through the window.
Oh, yes, they would.
I started
Yes, they would be. And I will die on that hill. I will never, ever tolerate that ever in my life. If there's ever anybody who's trying to watch in on me in the dead of night, or even during the day, through my window of my house, oh, it's gonna be on sight. You will not live to tell that tale. Because you're going into a jail cell. Yeah.
calm down, as one of my favorite TV shows started on one of the TV channels.
Yeah, go watch some
After a little
SpongeBob.
while, I became completely relaxed until
SpongeBob calms the nerves. Oh.
I felt like my heart skipped 3 beats after hearing the sickening sound.
Dude.
My head immediately spun to the window, but I could see nothing but darkness.
Okay, here's a funny story. My Nana recently came to visit our house. She already has a key to our house. So, one day, I was cooking dinner, and I hear my front door open, and I'm like, or I hear my front door creak open, and I'm like, who the fuck is trying to break into my house? So I quickly drop everything, and I puffed my chest out trying to make myself look bigger, and I peeked around the corner, and it was my grandma. And I was like, oh Jesus, you scared me. And it's like, my dog took way too long to respond to it, and I don't know why, because she's usually on point when it comes to people being in our yard, and even especially at our door. So I don't know why it took her so long to recognize, oh shit, somebody's walking into our house. But maybe she smelled her. I don't know. I really don't know. That was a weird day.
Frozen in fear, my heart now racing. I didn't know what to do. There was no way I would check who was out there. I then remembered my grandpa kept a gun in the closet. I shut up and ran to the closet where my grandpa keeps all of his tools. I dug through a bunch of old boxes and tools, but found no gun. I did, however, find the next best thing, an axe.
Yeah, buddy. Hold on. When you don't got when you don't got the blicky, you got the big piece of steel on a stick. Now that might not be the same thing, but by golly, if you understand and learn how to use an axe, you'll be just fine. Just kidding. This is also fake too, by the way. It looks real, right? It's a prop. I made it myself. The handle too is made of plastic. I just covered it in wood filler and wood stain. I like it.
I grabbed the axe and ran back to the couch. I thought about turning off the TV and light, but I quivered at the thought of being in total darkness in this situation. Whatever is out there knows I'm in here, and turning out the lights would do no good. I sat back down on the couch with the axe in my hand, hoping whoever was out there would see that I was armed. As I sat there waiting, a few minutes felt like hours. I waited for another knock on the glass, or footsteps coming up the wooden steps to the porch, or for the doorknob to turn, but there was nothing. Nothing but the sounds of the TV and crickets outside. I heard the sound of a car pulling up the gravel road and turning onto our property. They're finally
That's
back.
the best feeling ever.
I was so urgent to tell my dad about the knocking, but then I realized that he already thought I was kind of paranoid. I put the axe back in the closet and sat back down on the couch. I heard the sound of a car door shut, and then another, and then another. I guess they put the pizza in the back seat. The front door opened, and my dad and brother walked in with a pizza. I was instantly relieved, remembering how hungry I was.
Little Caesars to
After
eat
eating,
the
we
pain
watched
away.
TV for an hour before calling it a night. Since it was just 3 of us this time, my dad and brother shared the queen-sized bed, while I got the single bed in the other bedroom. This bedroom has a
Your
window
son
as
and
well,
father share
with
the
no
bed?
blinds at all. This window faced the woods behind the trailer.
I
At
guess
least
that's not a
it's better
weird
than being
thing,
in the
though.
living room, I thought. Surprisingly, I fell asleep
There was a
relatively
period of
quickly,
time
only to
where,
wake up hours later to the sound of...
I'm sorry, brain
I
fart.
sprang up from my pillow, instantly reminded of the nightmarish situation. No. They knew I was in this room now. Who's out there? Are they watching me? Why? All of these thoughts filled my mind, almost causing me to forget the most natural and expected reaction from almost anyone. I screamed for my dad, and I immediately heard him run out of his bedroom and into mine. He turned the light on, asking me if I'd gone completely insane. I explained the thumping noise on the glass to my dad, and he reluctantly agrees to humor my story. He stepped outside with a flashlight and searched around the whole trailer. He returned inside about a minute later, assuring me that there was nobody out there. My dad already thought that I was paranoid, but after this, I'm sure he thought I was just flat out crazy. I didn't even try to fall back asleep that night. The thought that somebody was just outside these thin, old trailer walls, and that
Now, if you were living in my house, and you were gonna, and there was somebody who was gonna try some shit, this is what you're gonna get met with. Excuse me. Dad, we got an intruder outside. You know what we gotta do? Yes. Oh shit. let me retry that. Daddy, we got an intruder. What are we gonna do about it? Exercise our Second Amendment right. Again, a prop. This is the Blue Rose revolver from Devil May Cry 5 or 4. I think it's the 4th version. But this is all plastic again. Look at the seams. It's not functional. I can't at all. It's pure plastic.
they've been staring right at me freaked me out. All that was stopping them from entering the trailer was an old wooden door. The worst part, my dad didn't believe me. Without a dog around anymore to warn us, this creep could sneak in and slit our throats before a single one of us woke up.
Again, as an American, we're all legally obliged to apply our Second Amendment right in case somebody decides to break the law and come on our property. This is why you don't question our authority.
These thoughts polluted my mind, so I knew I would have to stay awake and listen for that front door to open. I probably wouldn't have even fallen asleep again that night if I tried. A few slow hours passed before the first crack of sunlight filled the room. After hours of sitting still in fear, listening, the sunlight brought me instant relief. I heard my dad get out of bed, walk past my room, and step outside. We have a beautiful mountain view of the sunrise up there, so my dad would often get up early to watch the sunrise.
Yeah, that does sound
Knowing
nice.
that my dad was awake now, I felt safe enough to fall asleep for an hour or two. And as quickly as that, I fell asleep. It wasn't until a few hours later when I woke up to the sound of my little brother riding his dirt bike around the property. It must have been noon already.
I want a bike.
I was surprised
so
my dad
badly.
didn't wake me up. When I entered the kitchen, my dad greeted me with a good afternoon, emphasis on the afternoon. I decided to eat breakfast outside on the deck, because above the kitchen table was one of those sticky fly-catching roll-up tapes that you hang on the ceiling, and quite frankly, a bunch of dead flies and other flying bugs are not what I want to look at while eating.
Yeah, that's fair.
It was a long, boring day. I didn't do much besides watch TV, shoot cans with a BB gun, and think about the night before.
I never shot BB
Somebody
guns
knocked
before.
on the window.
No, that's false.
Somebody was
I
outside,
have.
watching.
I just
listening.
didn't do it a lot.
Maybe they still were. It was about 10 minutes after dinner time. The sounds of the dirt bike still filled the property, even so shortly after dinner. My dad couldn't take the racket anymore and told him to go ride somewhere else. It was a good thing my mom wasn't there, for my dad's sake, because she wouldn't approve of a boy of such a young age riding a dirt bike without supervision, especially so close to dark. My little brother told my dad that he was going to ride on the neighbor's property. After all, nobody ever seemed to be there, and it was a perfect property for the dirt bike. My dad said it was okay, and with that, my little brother stormed off the property, turning the corner up the hill until the sound was completely gone.
Yeah, it's alright, son. There's nobody at that house, so there's definitely no reason to have to worry about anything going wrong over there. Dude, I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secret. Just because something is abandoned doesn't always mean there is no danger to it, or that there's nobody or nothing to worry about. Because even if a piece of property is considered abandoned, I think the way it works is even if a piece of property is considered abandoned, it's still technically owned by somebody. Otherwise, it would have been sold to someone else, or would have been sold to somebody, like, I forget the exact details, but I talked about it with my dad before, and even though an abandoned building is technically considered abandoned, it's not really. It's still owned by somebody, and even if it's not, you're still running the risk of, like, getting yourself into trouble or encountering something you weren't supposed to, you know? So, whatever you do, do not go and hang out at these random places thinking that you're going to be fine or that there's nothing to worry about. Because there is. There most definitely certainly is. So that was your first mistake.
It was quiet again, just what my dad wanted. I became bored quickly and decided to go see if Joey would let me ride around for a bit. I walked over to the neighboring lawn, but couldn't find my brother there. It was strange because he said he was going to ride around the property. I assumed that he was just riding down the dirt roads and decided to walk back to the trailer until I noticed the front door to the little house at the top of the lawn was open.
Need a little cat food.
This made me really curious because there was no car on the lawn and I had never seen anyone in that house. I then had the thought that my little brother went in there, snooping around. I was extremely curious at this point, so I walked up to the house. As I got closer, I noticed my little brother's dirt bike on the side of the house. Now I knew he was in there. This got me angry. I stormed up to the house and barged in through the front door. I screamed Joey's name, but there was no response. The only thing that broke the silence was the creaking of the deteriorating floor when I walked. The living room was small, and it only had a few pieces of furniture, including a blue couch with some tears in the arms, a seemingly antique wooden coffee table that was covered in dust, and an old TV that looked like it was from the 60s. The room was dark, as all the curtains were closed. It just had an overall eerie feeling to it.
I would like a 60s TV.
I screamed Joey's name again. Still silence. I walked into the kitchen, which was in even worse shape. There were black marks on the floor in the corner, where there was probably at one point a fridge. There was an old microwave laying in another corner of the room. I wanted to take a few pictures inside this creepy house, so I took out my phone. It was off. I pressed the power button on, and the Apple logo popped up. While looking at the ground, I noticed something a bit unsettling. There was a trail of blood drop stains leading from the kitchen sink to somewhere outside of the kitchen. I
What?
placed my phone on the counter and followed the trail out of the kitchen through a
Why
small
did you leave
hallway
your phone on the
into a
counter?
door. It was a small door. It looked like a closet door.
And why are you
I was a little
why are
afraid to
you
open
following
it,
the
but I
blood
did
trail?
anyway. I made a shocking discovery. It was a stairway leading to a basement. It was odd for a small trailer-like house like this to have a basement.
Go down there, you're
I
never
had the
coming
stupid
back.
thought that maybe Joe was down there. But I'm sure my curiosity only used that as an excuse to keep snooping around.
You go down that basement, you're not coming back.
I searched the wall for a light switch, but there was none. I walked down a few steps to see if I could see anything, but it was too dark. It was too dark to go down there without a light source. I decided to go get my phone to use as a flashlight, so I walked back up the stairs until something
You
hit
wouldn't
me
have
in the
had
face.
to if you didn't place it
I
on the
realized I
counter.
walked into a hanging light switch. How could I have missed that? I thought. I pulled down the switch,
Because you're a
turning
horror
on a very
protagonist.
dimly lit light bulb. Not only was it dim, but it gave off an eerie red light. I took a few steps down the stairs. The light barely provided enough light to reveal the basement, but as I peered down, I was able to see the shadows of a bunch of objects that seemed to be attached to something hanging off the ceiling. Before I could get a closer
Okay, here's a scary story. Not scary, but it freaked me out. So I was house sitting for an old neighbor of mine. She was an older lady, so her basement didn't really have much work done to it, I don't think. But there was this one time I had to come down to her basement to help her with something. Dude, I swear to you, her basement was something else. Because it freaked me out. It was a pretty big mess, and the ceiling had like these, I think they were jars, some kind of jars, I think, but I don't remember what it was. But there was some strange items just hanging from the ceiling, of all things. And like the rooms were like super small and cramped, so I couldn't even really get through there. I don't know how she did. But yeah, that fucking... Some people's basements are just terrifying, bro. Like, please, get to work on your basement.
look. I heard footsteps coming from upstairs. It had to be Joey. I was so
You're
focused
dead.
on snooping around myself, I had completely forgotten that the reason I entered in the first place was to find him. I walked up the stairs,
You're so
yelling
dead.
Joe's name again.
You are so dead.
Why aren't you answering? I said, as I reached the top of the stairs.
Maybe because it's not him.
As I stepped back into the dark hall, I saw to the right of me, about 10 feet away, the silhouette of a large figure. That was not Joe.
I wonder.
I made a mad dash for the front door, noticing another blood trail leading to the front door. I ran outside. I was so horrified, I almost didn't even notice my dad's car speeding down the road at the bottom of the lawn.
He saw the
Where
thing
the hell
too and
was he
had to
going?
leave.
There was someone in the car with him. Was it Joey? It had to be. He was leaving. Where the hell was he going? I ran even faster to try and catch his attention, but I was too late. The car turned the next corner and drove down the hill past the trees. I slowed down and turned around to see that Joey's dirt bike was still at the side of the house. What the hell? I had no choice but to run back to the trailer. As I ran, I constantly turned around to make sure that whoever was in that house wasn't following me. It was getting pretty dark now, and it was kind of hard to see from a distance. Running onto our property, that was surrounded by woods, I became extremely paranoid that there were people hiding behind the trees watching me. My dad left the front door wide open. He was obviously in a frantic rush, but for what? I ran inside, shut the door, and locked it, still breathing frantically. My heart was pounding from fear, not because of the fact that I had just run all the way to the trailer. I
Probably
had to
that
call
too.
my dad and ask him where the hell he was going. I reached into my pocket for my phone, only to give me the sickening reminder that I had left my phone in that house. Stupid! Why did I put it on the counter instead of in my pocket? All I could do now was wait. It was getting really dark outside now, to the point that I would have to turn
I
on the
don't know
lights
what
to
I'm
see
doing.
anything. I dreaded this because as soon as I would turn on the lights, I would be on display to the outside for anyone to see.
Yeah, you would.
But there was no way that I would be able to fall asleep now. I was still in shock. That figure I saw, it had to be the owner of that house. I didn't know someone lived there. The condition of that house, though, how could anybody live in there?
Maybe it's not meant for
That
living.
figure, it towered over me. It had to be 7 feet tall. Why the hell was Joe's dirt bike at that house? He had to have gone in there, but surely he came out.
What,
Who
did
else
you
could have been
visit
in that car with
Slenderman's
my dad?
outhouse or something?
I wasn't being a bad person. I knew I wasn't.
Oh.
My brother was safe and sound with my dad, and I knew that. I would have heard him if he were still in that house. I sat in the darkness for a while, just waiting to hear my dad's car pull off the gravelly road and onto the grass. I didn't turn on the lights because I didn't want anyone to know that I was in there. Before it got too dark to navigate the trailer at all, I managed to find a flashlight in the closet. I sat on the living room couch for about another 20 minutes, my eyes resting but my thoughts racing. However, a few moments later, my thoughts were interrupted by a sound that I had been anticipating. It was the sound of a car driving off the gravelly road and onto the property. I had instantly felt better. My dad was back. I reached over for the lamp and flipped on the switch. I heard the sound of a car door shut, and then another, and then another. What the hell? Was someone else with them? No. Maybe they just put some groceries in the back seat.
No.
I relax until I hear two adult male voices talking outside. I turn off the
No.
light immediately and duck under the window. The talking stopped. I waited for a few seconds before sneaking a peek at the car that was parked. I could just barely make out in the dark that it was a white van. I felt like my heart sank into my stomach.
Great
I ran to
timing
my
on that
dad's
sound
bedroom
effect.
and closed the
On
door.
that face.
I had to find a place to hide. Under the bed would be too obvious. In the closet would also be too obvious. But then I remembered that inside the closet was another little door that opened up to a small compartment with a water pump inside. I didn't know if I could fit in there, but I had no other options. I had to try. I stepped in the closet and shut the door behind me. I turned on my flashlight and looked around for the small door. I couldn't find it. I could hear footsteps coming up the deck outside, approaching the front door to the trailer. After desperately rummaging the closet, I found the door to the compartment, but it was way too small for me to fit into. It was stupid of me to even consider that. I heard somebody trying to turn the doorknob to the front door. Their failed attempts to open the door led to the sound of a loud bang on the door. They were trying to kick down the door now.
Bro.
It only took one more loud bang to the door before I heard it break down.
Oh
I
my
had to get the hell-
god, bro. This is really what... This is what really freaks me out, dude. Because, nowadays I'm not really home alone a lot, but whenever I am, it's usually for long periods of time. And whenever I am, that is always at the back of my head so frequently. I don't even think... It might not be just because of this video, but it definitely helped in it. I just hate the idea of one day I'm gonna be home alone and there's gonna be some randos that in the front of my house or even behind it, because I don't have a fence to my backyard, so it's all like open land. It's scary, bro. It scares me all the time.
Out of there. Surely they saw the light that was on not too long ago. so I'm sure that they knew that I was in there. Suddenly, I had a nightmarish thought that the person I saw in that house was one of the intruders. Everything was becoming seemingly clear to me now. The person I saw in that house must have been the one knocking on the windows at night, watching me. He must have gotten my little brother. Oh, Joey. He's probably still in that house, I thought. God only knows what happened to him. And those things hanging in that basement, I don't even want to try to imagine what they are. How could I have left that house to save myself before even thinking about my little brother? I heard 2 pairs of heavy footsteps pressing into the weak floors of the trailer. One pair of footsteps was coming down the hall toward the bedroom. I felt like my heart stopped beating at this point. I was sure that I was gonna die. As the footsteps reached the bedroom door, I started to imagine the slowest, most painful deaths that I would endure. The door to the bedroom opened, and the footsteps entered the room. I was prepared to launch out an attack as soon as the closet doors opened. I may have only been 17 at the time, but I was no scrawny thing. I could put up a decent fight. The footsteps
Yeah, but if
circled
there's
the room.
more than one
I could hear
dude,
the
bro.
sound of the intruder pushing things around under the bed. If I had hidden under there, I would have been as good as dead. I heard the intruder get back on his feet and come towards the closet. The footsteps came directly to the outside of the doors before stopping. I was as scared as anyone could be, but I was ready to attack. The silence was broken by a man from outside, screaming for the 2 intruders to come outside. I heard footsteps walk out of the room, back down the hall, and out of the trailer. This was my chance to sneak out. I opened the closet door quietly and tiptoed down the hall into the living room. I slipped on my shoes and looked out the window to make sure the coast was clear. Just barely, I could make out what looked like 2 bodies standing in front of the white van. Only 2. Where was the third one? I turned to the door, but I could see something in the kitchen. It was the silhouette of a huge figure. The same figure I saw in the house. I don't know why or what possessed me, but instead of running out of that trailer instantly like anyone should have, I flipped on the light switch to the kitchen. What I saw will forever haunt my memories. There, a deformed man. I don't even know if I would call this a man. It was a giant, 7-foot creature that was slightly slouched with arms that almost reached down to its knees. Its hands were deformed, with the few fingers it had seeming to be facing the wrong way. One of its legs was noticeably bigger than the other, and its face. Oh, its face. It had a face of a human, but it seemed to have been sewn onto this thing.
Dude.
The stains of blood covered the facial features of the face that clearly used to belong to somebody else. I stood there, staring at that thing for probably a few
Who are
seconds
you in a
before sprinting out
conversation
of that
with?
trailer.
Leatherface?
I ran past the tree line into the woods,
You having a
barely
staring
able to
contest with
navigate in the
Bubba?
darkness. I remember hearing the 2 men shouting to me, but I didn't pay attention. After what I had just experienced and seen, my only focus was to get as far away from there as possible. I cut through the woods to make it back to the road. After running down the road for about a mile, I had to stop to catch my breath. I was sure I wasn't being followed. The thought of my little brother came up again. I was convinced he was dead, and I wanted to kill myself for being such a coward and not trying to find him when I could. Instead, I had been worried about myself and getting myself to safety, and just shrugged it off with some stupid excuse. And whoever was in that car with my dad, I'm sure they were planning on killing him. And my dad simply wanted to save me and Joe. I felt like crying, but I was too scared to cry. I was too focused on being scared and checking my surroundings to make sure I wasn't being followed. I stood in the middle of the road in the darkness of the night, surrounded by nothing but woods on both sides. The closest neighboring house had to be close. I could go there and ask for help and call the police. Just before I could continue walking, a beam of light shone down the road. I looked up to see the headlights of a car speeding down the road. It couldn't be the white van, it was coming from the opposite direction. I waved my hand, signaling for the car to stop, but as it came closer, I realized it was my dad. He slammed on the brakes and screamed at me to get in the car. There was someone in the passenger seat. It was my little brother Joey. I felt a brief moment of utter happiness
He's
and relief.
alive.
But as I walked closer, I made a horrific discovery. His arm had several gashes in it, of which my dad tried to patch up with first aid tape. The tape had been soaked and turned completely red from blood. My little brother seemed to have been passed out. I almost let out a scream of shock, but I got in the back seat of the car and we drove off to never
Wait,
return to that
so-
trailer again. My dad explained to me that my brother had returned to the trailer with his arm in a bloody mess, seemingly in shock. My dad immediately tried to patch him up the best he could before speeding away to the nearest hospital, which was miles away. He didn't have time to find me and tell me where he was going. He figured that Joey somehow injured himself on the dirt bike by falling off. Joey was in shock to the point where he wouldn't even speak. It wasn't until about 20 minutes into the drive that Joey finally started talking, and he explained what happened to him. The door to the house was open, and Joe decided to go snooping around inside. After opening the basement door, a man ran up with a knife and started slicing at Joe's arm. Joe somehow escaped and ran back to the trailer. By the next day, Joe was safe and sound in the hospital, recovering. My dad reported what happened to the police, and they sent a squad up to the house, which was reported completely empty. Those creeps packed up and left in a hurry. It's really sickening to know that they're still out there somewhere, continuing to do what they do. And that creature with them, that I'm probably the only one who will ever have seen that thing and lived to remember it, whatever it was. Well, that was about 4 years ago. My dad sold the property and we all tried to forget about what happened. At the end
I
of
don't
the
know,
day,
man. I wouldn't be able to forget about that even with all the therapy in the world. Bro. Just the fear of, like, somebody capable of breaking into your house, especially at night. Dude. And they didn't have a dog either. So you wouldn't know if it was for real or not. I mean, sure, my dog took a while to recognize my grandma, but, you know, it's just, I don't know. It's getting late. I'll probably discuss these videos some more in a video I plan on doing, hopefully before October is over, but most likely it's going to be during, like, early November, so a bit of a Halloween, Thanksgiving special, if you will. I wish I would have came up with an idea sooner, but yeah, you know, what can you do? So, this is my second time doing a live stream, so nothing really eventful happening today. But so far, this is my longest stream of my YouTube so far. So, thank you to you who have decided to stop in for a bit. And I hope you did enjoy the 1 second you spent with me. Or 14 seconds, as it says right here. Ooh, excuse me. And, I'll see you guys in the next stream, and hopefully in the next video real soon. So, have a good night. And, happy Halloween.